In this guide, you're going to learn how to play Yubel like a pro. I'll take you through the basics all the way through to the advanced concepts of the deck, in addition to showcasing how to play Yubel in real duel scenarios. But first, what type of deck is Yubel? Yubel is a fiend-based damage reflection type deck that synergizes the most with zero attack and defense and destruction-oriented support. Yubel themselves floats into two monsters, Yubel Terror Incarnate and Yubel The Ultimate Nightmare. These three Yubel monsters reflect damage when attacked, but you can circumnavigate this reliance on the opponent through the new continuous spell Nightmare Pain, which reflects damage even if you're the one that declares the attack. The deck also has a built-in way to summon a monster to crash into via Geist Grinder Golem, which can summon itself and another Yubel monster from your hand. The primary win condition of Yubel is to attack or force your opponent to attack into your Yubel cards in order to inflict lethal damage. Another extremely powerful gimmick of the deck is the new fusion monster, Yubel the Loving Defender Forever, which, when paired with Eternal Favorite or Super Polymerization, can easily wipe your opponent's entire board of monsters. Finally, the deck has an impressive amount of stickiness, being able to float off destruction and the new field spell Nightmare Throne. So I want to showcase the deck first. So this is Yubel versus Kashtira. So they go first. They're going to activate Precious Planet Wraithsoth, summon Kashtira Unicorn, activate Kashtyriosis in order to bring out Fenrir. Fenrir, of course, is going to search for another Kashtira card. That is going to be Rise Heart. They go into Shangri-La, they summon Rise Heart, then they banish a few cards and then start locking my zones. They activate Kashtira Birth. This allows them to bring Fenrir back onto the field, but because they summon a bunch of monsters, I happen to have Nibiru in hand, which basically ends their whole turn. So our turn, I activate Terraforming, bringing Nightmare Throne into the hand. I activate Opening of the Spirit Gates in order to bring Dark Beckoning Beast into the hand. This allows me to search for another Spirit Gates, go into Almirage, use its effect, but unfortunately Ghost Spell negated Spirit Gates, but that's okay because I have 3 Nightmare Thrones to get rid of. So I use Nightmare Throne, bringing out the Squirmer. Squirmer is going to revive Spirit of Yubel from the graveyard. That sets Nightmare Pain directly from the deck. Nightmare Pain destroys Spirit. Spirit is going to float, and then because of Nightmare Throne's effect as well, I get to float again into Terror Incarnate. So now I have Yubel and Terror Incarnate, and we have our win condition here of a Nibiru token to swing for game. So round 2, they go first. They're going to activate Dimension Shifter, set Infinite Impermanence, and end their turn. Our turn, we drew pretty decent stuff, so we're going to activate Periodize Map, which is a bit of an Ash bait, which is good because they took it. We use Opening of the Spirit Gates to bring Beckoning Beast into the hand. They're going to Infinite Impermanence Dark Beckoning Beast, which does cripple you quite heavily, but I happen to have Nightmare Pain in my hand as well, which is great. Because Shifter's banishing everything, it's not too bad because our monsters float off of being banished anyway, so we can play through Shifter fairly effectively. So we have Little Knight on our side of the field, they have Pot of Prosperity. Face down, we've got Super Polymerization, Infinite Impermanence, and Eternal Favorite. So they are going to search for their Kashtira Unicorn, summon it onto their side of the field. I'm just going to banish that with my Little Knights, so that takes care of that business. They happen to have Kashtira Birth, so that is going to once again bring Unicorn back onto their side of the field, is what it is. Kashtyriosis, bring out Fenrir, so kind of what they were doing anyway. Not going to bother negating that, so they're going to bring out Rise Heart. Rise Heart's effect is going to activate, banishing a few things. Shangri-La is on the field. At this point in time, I'm going to use Eternal Favorite to bring out Yubel, and that's going to force them to basically deal some extra damage. They tried to go into the battle phase, which is why I did that. Burn for 2500, and then again, because of Nightmare Pain, another 2500. That's 5000 damage right off the bat. They're going to try and negate some stuff, try and summon some things, so I'm going to use Infinite Impermanence to stop that. Then on our turn, we just go into battle phase and just swing for game. So we Polymerization, straight into Loving Defender Forever. The burn damage is more than enough to win. Okay, so this is moving into the second game. So this is Yubel versus Voiceless Voice, a very new archetype. Start with Dark Beckoning Beast, use Spirit Gates to bring out another Beckoning Beast. We have Nightmare Throne as well. That is going to bring out Samsara Lotus. Link both of them off into Yama. Use Spirit Gates effect to bring Lotus back onto the field. Lotus is going to search for Spirit. Spirit is going to search for Nightmare Pain. It's going to set it as well. Use the effect to pop our Yubel in order to search for another card. Throne is going to bring out Terror Incarnate, and then Yubel is going to get floated into from Spirit. Link a few things off into Soul of Rage. Samsara Lotus is going to revive itself. I'll destroy Yubel in order to proc Yama's effect to bring Spirit of Yubel onto our side of the field. So now we have a pretty impressive setup here. They're going to get rid of most of our disruption, which is kind of annoying with Super Polymerization, but it's okay. Nightmare Throne is going to let us float into Terror Incarnate, so that's cool. Pre-preps, that's going to search for some Voiceless Voice cards. They're going to search for some Feat Rituals, and then they're going to use Voiceless Voice Saphira in order to do some stuff, but we're going to stop that by using Samsara's effect to change the effect effectively. Okay, so they have summoned Skull Guardian. They've also got Novox on their side of the field as well. They have Silent Forcing Barrier, which doesn't really do much in our case. They have another Super Polymerization, which is incredible, but it's fairly decent that we happen to have Eternal Favorite. They negated it with Silent Silent Forcing Blessing. They're going to bring their monsters onto their side of the field, but because we still have Spirit of Yubel in hand, which is hilarious, we summon it, activate its effect, which is all nice. It doesn't really matter though, because they are forced, because of Nightmare Pain, to attack all the way into it, and they have no way to out it. Even if they do, it's going to float into Yubel anyway. So of course, they surrendered there, or lost connection, bit of a rage quit, because they were forced to attack with all of their monsters into my Yubel, reflecting all the damage back at them. Hilarious. Okay, so some more up-to-date decks as well. So this is against Raid Raptors with the new support. Dark Beckoning Beast into Gates. Gates is going to search for another Beckoning Beast. Summon Lotus, link into Yama, then bring Lotus back onto our side of the field. Lotus into Spirit of Yubel's effect is going to set Eternal Favorite straight from the deck. Use Spirit Gates to bring our Nightmare Pain back into our hand from the graveyard. Then pop Spirit. Spirit is going to summon Yubel from our deck. And then Squirmer is going to summon itself, link into Soul of Rage. Standard stuff, right? Samsara comes onto our side of the field. Yubel blows itself up. Then Yama is going to summon Spirit of Yubel onto our side of the field. So now we've got loads of interruption here. It's going to be great. So they're going to summon the Lanius onto their side of the field. They're going to get rid of the other Lanius monster. Straight away, I'm going to stop them getting a search. Spirit of Yubel, float into Yubel. Triple Tactics Talents, they're going to take... This was a bit of a misplay on my part. I wasn't sure what they were going to take. So I kind of just forced an Eternal Favorite to summon Spirit of Yubel onto our side of the field. But it's okay. So they're getting our Soul of Rage. They're going to use Raider's Knight in order to bring out Brave Strix. This is a really useful card. It kind of draws into the exact rank up magic that they need. They're going to use Skip Force. That goes straight into Arsenal Falcon. Arsenal Falcon is going to bring out Noir Lanius. That is going to search for another card. So Raid Raptors is a pretty heavy, like monster heavy combo deck if you weren't aware. 4 Strix onto their side of the field. That summon stuff, which is exactly what they're going to do now. So bring cards into their hand. That is going to summon itself onto their side of the field into another 4 Strix. Every Raid Raptor card they can possibly think of. This is the strong one though. So Raid Raptor's Force, quick play, that brings out the Rising Rebellion Falcon, which kind of destroys everything and is unaffected by card effects, which I learned by activating Nibiru, and it was still on their side of the field. It's fine. Okay, so they also have another effect here where it copies the effect of a graveyard Raid Raptor, but doesn't really matter because we have 2 Yubel type cards on our side of the field. So all we need to do now is figure out a way into Nightmare Pain. So Spirit of Yubel can do exactly that. They use Droll, but we just set Nightmare Pain instead. Who cares? Activate it, go straight into the battle phase, and then just attack their monster for 1 billion damage. And we win round 1. Okay, so round 2, this is a best of 3. They are going to go first, so they're going to have Tribute Lanius. They're going to go through their plays pretty much in a very similar way to before. So they're going to summon 2 monsters onto their side of the field. That goes into 4 Strix. That enables them to search for more Raid Raptor cards. They have Swallow's Cowrie, so that adds Winged Beast monsters into their hand. They have Droll and Lockbird in their hand as well, which is pretty decent. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. Raider's Knight into Brave Strix. That's going to bring the rank up magic into their hand. They bring their super powerful one as well, which is like basically the win condition of Raid Raptor these days. Wise Strix, that's going to bring out a monster straight from the deck. That's going to go into a second 4 Strix, again searching for more Winged Beast shenanigans. Then they can set a Skip Force onto their side of the field, so 2 rank magics now. They activate Raid Raptor Boost, which is kind of just like a recycling card. And then I tried to use Nibiru, but I should have done it way before. If I had more knowledge of the deck, then I could have done it before Rising Rebellion Falcon hit the field. But it is what it is, so they have their monster attacking over while destroying our Nibiru. They can continue to try and like recur all of their resources, and then it's our turn. So we have opening of the Spirit Gates. That's going to bring Dark Beckoning Beast, and that is going to really hurt because they use Droll and Lockbird. We can't really do much now because they have Droll and then Barrage to negate Spirit Gates. So we have no choice but to set Super Poly and kind of hope for the best. So they're going to attack, and that's going to be the end of us. So that's round 2 to Raid Raptors. The final round, people, I sided in Skill Drain for this one. Skill Drain is a fun tech in Yubel because Nightmare Pain still reflects damage, you know, and we still float. So it's actually really decent. We also have Droll and Lockbird, so that's kind of try and switch off their entire game plan, but they can still kind of push through a few things. So Wise Strix can still summon from the deck. Raider's Knight at this point, you know, just get rid of everything. Summon Nibiru, try and force an end turn, which is exactly what happened. We have Samsara, that's going to be Ash Blossomed, so neither of us are really playing Yu-Gi-Oh at this point. Attack into the token, destroy it, and end our turn. So they have Tribute Lanius at this point. Just use Skill Drain, try and stop everything. And they're going to summon from their hand, and then another one from the graveyard to increase levels so they can go to Brave Strix. This is going to either bring the Raid Raptor's Force into their hand. They're activating stuff just to send things to the graveyard to get graveyard effects. Raider's Wings on their side of the field. They're going to use Boost, throw things into the deck, draw a card. They can't do much because we have Nibiru token for game. So attack into their Xyz monsters, and then we just end our turn because we are drawing nothing. Their turn, they're going to summon Mimicry, go into 4 Strix. Raider's Boost, of course, allows them to add Raid Raptor Barrage. That can negate cards on the field, which means they can use it to turn off skill drain. So even though Rising Rebellion Falcon is unaffected, because skill drain was on the field first, it means that the effect is still negated. So Spirit of Yubel, summon it onto our side of the field in the battle phase. They have Barrage face down, and we drew Nightmare Throne, pretty good. But they have basically drew all of their Ash Blossoms. It was very, very frustrating. So they can use Barrage, turn off skill drain. Doesn't matter too much though, because Yubel can't be destroyed by battle, so that's all nice. So 4 Strix, they can use all of their effects now for a turn. Basically, they have to end the game this turn, otherwise skill drain turns back on again, you know? So Little Knight is going to banish Spirit of Yubel, and then Throne is going to try and float, but of course they have good old Ash Blossom once again. We have a Nibiru, so they're going to try and summon their Rising Rebellion Falcon again, but it doesn't work because they need their Exceeds on the field. Didn't know that until just now, so that's always nice. So wait until they activate that, then activate Nibiru, and then you kind of shut down the whole strategy. Anyway, they recycled Barrage. We kind of need to get rid of Boost, so of course Skill Drain is turned back on again. We have Nibiru, literally nothing changed. We'll set Squirmer, which was kind of stupid, so I had a better idea. I could have linked both of these off into like Little Knight or something, but I wasn't thinking straight, so is what it is. They are turning off Skill Drain again. They can basically do that every turn now, which is cool. Brave Strix is going to bring the Raid Raptors rank up magic into their hands, so Skip Force. That goes into Arsenal Falcon. Arsenal Falcon is going to summon Noir Lanius. Lanius is then going to search for more Raid Raptor stuff, and then Wise Strix can summon from the deck. Arsenal Falcon can also bring out Ultimate Falcon. So that's, you know, the other win condition, another unaffected Towers Beast. And they're going to try and swing for a bunch of damage here. Squirm is in the graveyard, so I can at least float now. Super Polymerization with nothing on the field. Hooray. Okay, bring out Samsara Lotus, unaffected by Skill Drain. And then Spirit of Yubel, of course, nothing happens. What we're trying to do here is just use Super Polymerization to get over a bunch of things into, you know, Loving Defender forever, but we'll see what happens. They go into 4 Strix, and then they're activating their cards again into the Rising Rebellion Falcon. But of course its effect is negated, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm trying to hold on to my Super Polymerization. So Spirit of Yubel, summon Yubel. Yubel gets destroyed. I summon Terror Incarnate. They attack again into Ultimate Nightmare. They attack again at this point, tribute everything off into Loving Defender forever. Nightmare Throne activates, which allows me to float again into Terror Incarnate. Amazing. Look at this float potential. I love it. So our turn, Infinite Impermanence, nothing really much. And of course, Terror Incarnate can't activate because of Skill Drain. They're going to bring Rising Rebellion Falcon back onto their side of the field. Terror Incarnate is going to float. It's cool. Attack. And then that's going to deal a bunch of damage. And at this point, they just decided, you know what, I don't think I'm going to win this. I'm just going to surrender. So Yubel versus Raid Raptors, and Yubel wins. This is another slightly long game. So this is Yubel versus Photon. Dark Beckoning Beast is in our opening hand, so we bring Spirit Gates. Spirit Gate searches for another Beckoning Beast. Summon it, link them both off into Yama, use Spirit Gates to revive Dark Beckoning into Solar Rage, set a bunch of cards and end our turn. So we kind of just drew every hand trap possible. There wasn't really any combo here, but it's fine. So we're against Photon, which means they have a ton of extenders. So they've got Vanisher, they've got Wizard. I think they loop Wizard a few times as well, which is incredible. So they've got a whole bunch of cards in their hand. They're going to summon Galaxy Soldier. I'm just trying to bide my time. I don't want to negate things too early because I know this is the deck that extends through everything. Emperor, summon itself, and trying to make sure they don't get 2 level 8s on their side of the field. Of course, they had triple tactics talents to draw 2 more cards to extend further. Galaxy Summoner into Wizard. Wizard is going to search, and then they use Expedition, summoning their level 8. Go into Photon Dragon. In my experience, it's a really good imperm target, so we just negate that. They summon Soul Flare Dragon. That is going to take some stuff back into their hands. And then they use Trance in the imperm column, which is beautiful. So there you go, that's done. And then we use SP Little Knight to just banish a few things. Of course, what we draw once again is nothing but an imperm. So we just have to, you know, bide our time, and eventually we'll draw into something Yubel related, right? Surely. Okay, so we've got Galaxy Soldier on their side of the field. Galaxy Brave summons itself. It just gets a bunch of attack, but the whole point, of course, is to have a level 8 target. So they're going to draw 2 more because they have another triple Texas talents. And they're summoning more things. So let's try and imperm once again, just try and shut them down as much as humanly possible. Galaxy Wizard is going to go into Hope Harbinger. Then they're going to summon 2 more and then Xyz again. They should have summoned Photon Lord, but I think they were trying to go for game pretty much. So they're going to go into Galaxy Prime Photon Dragon, which I didn't know existed. I was holding my Nibiru for too long, it seems. I should have just done it straight away, but it's fine. So we've got Unchained Soul of Rage. So the Prime Dragon is unaffected, that's why I can't deal with it right now. But I've got Little Knight, I've got Super Polymerization, so that's all nice and dandy, into Mud Dragon of the Swamp, which is cool. Photon Emperor, of course, just beat over that. They have one monster on their side of the field. I'm going to just declare light just to stop them from targeting. I don't think they do much targeting anyway. But anyway, Jumper is going to search for the Hyper Galaxy, summon Galaxy Soldier. It's the same sort of stuff every turn. They just recycle loads of things. And then they're going to try and go for a rank 8 again. So I'm going to try and just banish that, you know, do as much as I can. Soul of Rage into Muckraker because I don't have any more targets. Running out of stuff. Turn 7, folks. I actually draw into Samsara, which means my deck is now live. You know, turn 7, I have full engine. They've burnt through almost everything. So I think we've got this in the bag, people. So Nightmare Pain, that's going to search for Spirit. I'm going to float into Yubel, then summon Spirit, and then Grey Squirm is going to summon another one. And now we just go into Valdrath for a negate. But pretty much what we're going to do is pop stuff and then swing for game. So Yubel beats Photon. So this is Yubel versus Melodious using the new Melodious cards. So we go first, activate Pure Erase Map, bring Dark Beckoning Beast to the hand, bring Gates to the hand, use this effect, summon Samsara, link into Yama. Gates is going to bring another Beckoning Beast into the hand, bring Samsara onto the field. Samsara can then tribute itself, bringing out Spirit, standard line. Because we already have Favourite and Pain in our hand, we can search basically wherever we like. So I'm going to put a second Eternal Favourite onto our side of the field. Then, because we use Pain, we'll pop Spirit of Yubel flowing into Yubel. We'll bring Squirmer, that goes into Rage, and then standard stuff. So Lotus revives itself, Yubel pops themselves, and then Yama will then revive Spirit of Yubel onto our side of the field. So we've got a pretty good set of interruptions here. We have Samsara, which is like an Omni Negate. We have Favourite. Okay, so they use Refrain, that searches for a card. They've got their Pendulum Scales here, so they're going to bring more cards into the hand. Concerto, Fusion Summons. I haven't really done much battling against Melodious, so I'm just kind of reading the cards and figuring out what I need to do. So that Fusion looked like something I should stop because it puts a bunch of Pendulum Scales up, which is not good. They go into their Link monster, Bloom Harmonist. Now I try to take care of it with Soul of Rage, but they had Forbidden Droplet, so surprise, surprise. They bring more cards onto their side of the field, and they've got a whole bunch of stuff that they can do. We'll activate Eternal Favourite at this point. This is why I kind of like having 2 of them, because I can use both effects, so that's great. Spirit's effect is going to activate, bringing Spirit of Yubel into the hand. They're going to use Fusion Substitute to bring out Grand Choir. This is kind of annoying because I wanted to use my other Super Poly effect, but this card banishes cards as a quick effect, so it kind of gets around it. So I'm forced to go into Valdrath here. This is a negate in case they try to use Grand Choir. So basically they knew that they couldn't, so I could easily go into Loving Defender forever, Super Poly basically their whole board, and then negate one of their cards from activating, and then of course from there on they surrendered. So this is a slightly different game. So this is Yubel versus Dark World. Didn't have too much to go off here, so I'm just going to go into Squirmer, use this effect to bring out Spirit of Yubel, bringing Nightmare Pain onto our side of the field. Use Pain, pop Yubel, bring Eternal Favourite. Yubel then floats, so we have a Super Poly situation here. We've got an Imperm, we have Eternal Favourite, and then to keep Yubel alive, we just pop the Armorage. And we have Nibiru as well, so we're kind of like not really playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we've got a bunch of hand traps. They're going to use Genta to bring Gates, and then the Gates of course banishes it, so I'm going to preempt that by summoning Spirit of Yubel to search for a card. So that is going to be Nightmare Pain, just discard fodder at this point. They summon Genta, they're going to revive their Rainbow, and then they're going to bring more cards into their hand. They're going to bring another Gates. Gates is going to discard Snow. Snow is going to search for the Fusion spell, which is Dark World Accession. Doesn't matter too much because we have Super Poly, and we're forced to use it because Grapha targeted it. It isn't what I'd have liked, but it's okay. At least it gets rid of the Fusion monster. Burn for 1500. They're going to float into Grapha. Then they're going to summon Phantom Skyblaster, which is a card I haven't seen in ages. So that is going to bring a bunch of tokens to summon Dark. Dark, of course, brings Yubel onto their side of the field. Muckraker, we're going to use Imperm to try and shut down as many of their discards as possible. They go into Nightmare Cerberus, really doesn't matter, so we're just going to float into Yubel, which is all nice and dandy. They're going to have Danger Mothman, discarding itself, which is a Dark World Dealings effectively, so we are forced to discard our only card. And then they use Triple Tactics Talents in the Imperm column, which is, you know, something else. It's impressive. So they're going to attack, forced to basically, because of Nightmare Pain. And we just banish everything by targeting Loving Defender forever. So now there's not much to do but to go into battle phase and attack the game. So there you go. Now this game, disclaimer, I lost, but I felt like it's worth showing you because I could have won if I had more knowledge about what I was up against pretty much, but it is what it is. So race map into Dark Beckoning Beast, terraforming, just trying to bait out some ashes, but nothing was really happening. I have Throne. Throne is going to search for Samsara. I'm going to use Dark Beckoning Beast extra normal so we can link off into Yama, then Gates into Samsara, Samsara into Spirit of Yubel, Spirit of Yubel is going to search for Nightmare Pain, then getting around Droll, right, just bringing it into the outside of the field. Nightmare Pain is going to destroy Spirit, Spirit's going to float, and then of course we have Nightmare Throne for a second float into Terror Incarnate. This brings Yubel onto our side of the field, link off into Soul of Rage. You've seen this setup countless times now. I'm really a big fan of it. So Yubel pops itself, Yama then just revives Spirit of Yubel. So we've got all these interruptions here. We've got Super Poly, we have Samsara, we have Soul of Rage, which is 3 interrupts. So they're going to have Decatron. I'm forced to get rid of it because that will just turn into a negate, so we have to deal with it. They pop our card, we float into 2 cards. They summon a second Decatron. I get rid of it with Soul of Rage. Using SP Little Knight, I'm going to banish their Sinful Spoils to turn that engine off, and of course they have 1/1 for a third Decatron. It was unbelievable, something else. Anyway, we interrupted all 3 of them. They summoned Deviati for a negate, but we use Imperm first to get around that. Diabelistar, here is where I royally screwed up. I used my Eternal Favourite to get rid of their Diabelistar. That, if I didn't do that, I probably could have won, but I just didn't know what they were going to do. So Infernal Evil off of their instant fusion, it's like they had all of their Saki one-offs in that sense, right? Because they have full combo off of an instant fusion. So they have Blazing Magical Blade, they're going to bring Decatron into the hand, they've got their Infernoids basically reviving themselves constantly. Bestower of Flames, Simple Spoils, gets rid of our Loving Defender forever, and they have Infernoid Flood, another Deviati, they have Decatron. Decatron's effect isn't there, and then they banish and board wipe and then swing for game. If I had held on to Eternal Favourite, could have just board wiped and I probably still would have been in the game. So as you saw, there were some combos that were fairly similar from game to game. I'm now just going to go over some of the basics of the deck and the different combos that you can use. So starting off with some 1-card combos, which is just Samsara Regenerating Lotus. So that's going to summon Spirit of Yubel. Yubel is then going to set Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain, of course, is going to pop Spirit of Yubel to search for a card. We have Grave Squirmer. Spirit, float into Yubel. Use Grave Squirmer's effect, summon itself. We can pop Yubel, Yubel floats into Terror Incarnate. Then we can link both of those off into Yama. If we have an Unchained package at this point, we can bring Shavara, Squirmer, revive Spirit, Shavara, destroy it, float into Yubel. Then we can link off into Soul of Rage, Shavara then sets Escape of the Unchained, and then we can revive Regenerating Lotus, popping our own Yubel to put Spirit of Yubel onto our side of the field. So here off of 1 card, we have several interrupts. So we've got Samsara Regenerating Lotus, or Samsara D-Lotus, as a sort of Omni-Negate, which will destroy our Spirit of Yubel. Spirit would then float into our regular Yubel. And then we have Unchained Soul of Rage, which is effectively 3 interrupts in 1. So it tributes a monster, so that's 1 interrupt. Then it can go into, for example, SP Little Knight, which is a banish. And then when they activate an effect, SP Little Knight can banish a second time, so that's 3 interrupts. We also have Escape of the Unchained, so depending on which setup you like doing, we didn't have to use Yama last turn, we could have just let Yubel die, in which case we can use Escape of the Unchained to pop Rage first. So that's an interrupt before we use Soul of Rage. And then when it gets destroyed, we can bring, for example, Spirit of Yubel into our hand, then use Yama's effect to put Unchained Soul of Rage back onto our side of the field, keeping its effect live to then go into Little Knight to then banish a few other cards. That is pretty decent because then in the battle phase, if they happen to get rid of your board, we can then just summon Spirit of Yubel. And if Nightmare Pain is still on the field, then they're forced to attack into it and you could choose a win from there. So you saw the Sacred Beast packages in those games, so I'm going to show you Dark Beckoning Beast as a 1-card combo. Bring Gates, bring Beckoning Beast, summon them both, go into Yama. Yama, bring Shavara. Shavara can then be discarded, bring Beckoning Beast onto our side of the field. We can then set Escape of the Unchained, go into Soul of Rage, and then here we've got a situation where if they summon a card, they're going to bring their Spirit Gates into the hand, they're going to activate it. Here I'm going to use Escape of the Unchained, it's exactly what I said before, right? So use Yama's effect to bring Rage back onto our side of the field, and then we can also bring a card into our hand. And then we keep Rage's effect live, so just get rid of their monster into Little Knight, start banishing stuff, and start establishing control. As a 1.5 card combo, I guess, so Samsara Regenerating Lotus brings out Spirit of Yubel, so it's very similar to what you saw already. I'm going to set Nightmare Pain, activate Nightmare Pain, and then instead of searching for the Squirmer, we're going to bring Eternal Favourite into our hand instead. Summon Yubel, set Eternal Favourite, bring out our Regenerating Lotus. We're forced to tribute it, but now at least we have Eternal Favourite to board wipe if we want to. It's a very, very basic combo. Nightmare Throne pretty much does exactly the same thing as Samsara, because all it does is you activate it, and then you bring Samsara Regenerating Lotus into your hand, and then you just summon it and do exactly the same combo that you saw before. The meat of the deck is in its 2-card combos. So for example, if we have Nightmare Throne and Dark Beckoning Beast, we can start off by going through our Sacred Beast packages. So summon it, go into Spirit Gates, search for Beckoning Beast, summon the other one, go into Yama, Nightmare Throne will activate, and then we'll bring Samsara into our hand. Gates can then revive it because we just discarded it. Now we go into the combo that you saw earlier, so then Yubel sets Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain is one of the best cards in the game. Destroy Spirit of Yubel, then Nightmare Throne will float into Terror Incarnate. Spirit of Yubel will float into Yubel. And then we can go into Soul of Rage. Squirmer summons itself. We can pop itself. Yammer can bring Spirit of Yubel, and then we can destroy it as well to go into a second Yubel. Incredible. And then we've got Spirit of Yubel onto our side of the field, overlay both of those into Valdrath. Then we can summon a monster onto our side of the field and tribute it so we keep Yubel. I have said the word Yubel too many times that it starts to lose its meaning. But here we have Soul of Rage, which is 3 interrupts in 1. If Yubel leaves the field, it's going to float into Terror Incarnate. And then if Terror Incarnate leaves the field, we can use Nightmare Throne to float back into, say, Spirit of Yubel. Valdrath is in the gate and it can destroy multiple cards, so it's pretty decent as well. And then of course we have Nightmare Pain to reflect damage. An alternative to this is to also have the Unchained package as well. Same stuff as before. Beckoning Beast, bring Gates, search for Dark Beckoning Beast, link into Yammer, bring Shavara. Nightmare Throne is going to bring Samsara into our hand. Spirit Gates, bring Samsara onto the field, summon the Spirit of Yubel. Then, same stuff as before, set Nightmare Pain on our side of the field, activate it, destroy Spirit of Yubel, and then we can bring Squirmer. Then of course Yubel is going to be floated into. Then we can use Squirmer, summon itself, pop Yubel, that goes into Terror Incarnate. And now we can link off into Soul of Rage. Shavara can destroy Terror Incarnate, which lets us float using Yammer's effect, Nightmare Throne, and Terror Incarnate itself. So we can go into Ultimate Nightmare. And then we can have Spirit of Yubel in the hand, Yubel onto our side of the field, Escape of the Unchained face down, Grave Squirmer, bring out another Spirit of Yubel, and now we can bring out our Samsara by tributing something. So now we have more interrupts here. Now we've got 3 from Unchained Soul of Rage, we have Escape of the Unchained, we also have Samsara's sort of Omni Negate, and then if everything goes wrong, we also have Spirit of Yubel in our hand to summon itself to sort of choose a win. If we have Throne and Grave Squirmer in hand, it gets even better. So we can activate Nightmare Throne, bringing Samsara into the hand, summon it. Same stuff that you saw before. Samsara is our route into Nightmare Pain. So that's a bit of a choke point, but with Squirmer, it's not as big of a deal as it could have been. So now we're going to destroy Spirit of Yubel. We're going to search for Eternal Favorite. Nightmare Throne is going to float into Terror Incarnate. We're also going to have Yubel on the outside of the field. Squirmer, destroy Terror Incarnate to float into Ultimate Nightmare. Now we can link off into Yammer. Grave Squirmer can then bring Spirit of Yubel, go into Soul of Rage, and then Samsara bring itself onto our side of the field. Then Yubel, of course, can destroy itself, Yammer bringing Spirit out. So here we have Eternal Favorite, which can Super Poly, or it can summon stuff. They're going to activate a few cards. We're going to use Samsara's effect, destroy Spirit, Nightmare Throne is going to float, and then we're also going to summon Yubel. The nice thing about Nightmare Throne is that the special summoning clause is optional. So instead of summoning it, we can keep it in our hand, and that makes Eternal Favorite's board wipe ability live. So we've got Soul of Rage's 3 interrupts, plus Yubel's fusion summon into Loving Defender forever. So let me just show you Mature Chronicle if we happen to draw at turn 1. So I'm going to activate it, I'm going to bring Dark Beckoning Beast onto our side of the field. I obviously appreciate this is a 3-card combo, but bear with me. So we'll bring Spirit Gates into our hand, and we'll activate Spirit Gates, bringing our second Beckoning Beast into our hand. Then we can go ahead and summon it, and we can link both of these off into Soul King Yammer. Then use Spirit Gates' effect, discarding Samsara, summon itself onto our side of the field. We get a token, use Samsara's effect to bring out Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel's effect, obviously we get a second token. We can bring Nightmare Pain onto our side of the field, activate Nightmare Pain, use Nightmare Pain's effect, destroy Spirit of Yubel, bringing any card that we want into our hand. That's going to be Infernal Grave Squirmer. Then we'll use Spirit of Yubel's effect to bring Yubel onto our side of the field. Now we have 3 counters. We'll use Grave Squirmer's effect, summon itself, then we can destroy Yubel. Yubel, of course, is then going to float, and because we have Grave Squirmer, Mature Chronicle gets another counter. Bring Terror Incarnate onto our side of the field. Now we have 5 counters, and we haven't even finished our combo yet. We can bring Super Polymerization into our hand. We'll link our Squirmer and our Yammer off into Soul of Rage, and then we can use Grave Squirmer's effect to revive one of our monsters. And then depending on what we want to do, I can summon Spirit of Yubel onto our side of the field, and then I can activate the effect. Anything I want, I could search Super Polymerization, or I can special summon a Yubel from the graveyard. Of course, as soon as I summon it, I'm going to get the token straight back again. And now at the end of the turn, I can use Samsara Regenerating Lotus, special summon it onto our side of the field, use Yubel's effect to tribute another monster. So we'll get rid of Terror Incarnate. Terror Incarnate's effect, of course, is then going to float into Ultimate Nightmare. Now from here, we have a whole bunch of situations going on, right? Now because we still have Yama in the graveyard, we can float a surprising amount. So we have Soul of Rage into SP, and then that's going to banish 2 times, so that's 3 interrupts. We have Regenerating Lotus, which will pop one of our other cards as well, which is 4 interrupts. And then because we have Soul of Yama in the graveyard, as soon as something gets popped, we can float again into something else. So we have loads of floating going on, because Spirit floats into Yubel, so that's 1. Yubel floats into Terror Incarnate, which is 2. If they out Ultimate Nightmare, then Terror Incarnate can float into Ultimate Nightmare, so that's a 3 float. And then of course, we can use Yama's effect to bring Spirit back onto our side of the field, which is 4 floats. And then when Spirit gets destroyed, because it's not once per turn, you can float back into Yubel again, and the cycle starts all over again. Imagine if you had Nightmare Throne. So let me just show you a quick OTK going second. So let's summon Samsara Regenerating Lotus. Lotus is going to go into Spirit of Yubel. You've seen this all before. Spirit of Yubel is going to search for Nightmare Pain, but here is where it deviates slightly. So we're going to activate Nightmare Throne. Nightmare Throne is going to search for the original Yubel, so add that into our hand. Then we will activate Nightmare Pain. Pain is going to destroy Spirit of Yubel, which of course will let it float later. And then we're going to bring Geist Grinder Golem into our hand. So Spirit of Yubel will activate. We may as well activate Nightmare Throne at this point as well, bringing Terror Incarnate onto our side of the field. Bring Yubel out from the deck. Now we use Geist Grinder Golem on the original Yubel, summon itself, bring the OG Yubel onto our side of the field. Now we have a situation where we can just OTK straight away for 9,000 damage. If they happen to stop one of them, then of course we can go into Gustav Max as well to burn for an additional 2,000. So here is what I would consider a Yubel core. No bells and whistles, it's literally just the Yubel cards, no Sacred Beast engine or anything. So we have an Ultimate Nightmare, Terror Incarnate, 1 Yubel, 2 Spirit of Yubel, Geist Grinder Golem at 1, 3 Samsara D Lotus, 2 Infernal Grave Squirmer, 3 Super Polymerization, 3 Nightmare Pain, 3 Nightmare Throne, and 1 Eternal Favorite. And what this core basically allows you to do is set up Eternal Favorite for Super Polys. It allows you to search for Nightmare Pain to sort of reflect damage. Geist Grinder Golem is your 1 card, summon onto their side of the field and attack for game. Nightmare Throne allows you to float into all 3 of the Yubel boss monsters. And then we have Super Polymerization as well for Loving Defender forever. Then a much more fleshed out version of the deck, which is the one that I'm currently running online, is 1 Yubel Ultimate Nightmare, 3 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Terror Incarnate, 2 of the original Yubel, 2 Spirit of Yubel, 1 Geist Grinder Golem, 2 Dark Beckoning Beast, 3 Samsara D Lotus, 3 Droll Lockbird, 2 Infernal Grave Squirmer, 1 1-for-1, 1 Peri-Race Map, 1 Terraforming, 3 Super Polymerization, 3 Nightmare Pain, 2 Opening of the Spirit Gates, 1 Mature Chronicle, 3 Nightmare Pain, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and 2 Eternal Favorite. Then in the extra deck, we have 2 Yubel the Loving Defender Forever, 1 Dragostapelia, 1 Garura, a Mud Dragon of the Swamp, 1 Zeus, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, 1 Technologue Valdrath, 1 Assembled Nightingale, 1 Yama, 1 Soul of Rage, SP Little Knight, Muckraker, 1 Almirage, and 1 Relinquished Anima. So we play both of Yubel's upgrades because Nightmare Throne can float into them really easily and consistently. You can add them into your hand from deck, graveyard, or the banishment, so it's really strong. Or if they're already on the field, the Nightmare Throne can float back into one of the other ones. 2 Yubel, so there are some arguments for playing 1 or 2 Yubel. Personally, I've had more success playing 2. That's because if you happen to have one in your hand with Geist Grinder Golem, for instance, it's another name, and if you're floating into it from Spirit of Yubel, then at least that allows you to bring 2 out instead of just the 1, which sets you up for an OTK because you attack into Geist Grinder Golem twice, then you overlay into Gustav Max, and then you burn for game. Spirit of Yubel at a minimum, I would play at 2. There's nothing wrong with playing it at 3 either. I just think with Nightmare Throne and Eternal Favorite and Opening of the Spirit Gates, you can float into this card more often than not, but it's never a dead card in hand. 1 Geist Grinder Golem, it's really there as a win securing card more than anything. Playing it at more than 1 feels very clunky, particularly going first. It does nothing for you going first, whereas going second, at least you can summon it onto their side of the field and try and get game from there. The Sacred Beast package synergizes incredibly well with the deck. My personal opinion is that the optimal ratios are 2 Dark Beckoning Beasts and 2 Opening of the Spirit Gates. Some people argue that you need 3 Dark Beckoning Beasts because if you draw both of them, then you can't activate Spirit Gates, right? So that's why you have your third one locked in the deck somewhere. But I personally think that's taking away from one extra bit of consistency, you know, a terraforming here or there, for a chance that probably won't come up all that often. Samsara is the starter of the deck. It enables basically everything. So it's an Omni Negate of sorts. It can bring out Spirit of Yubel, which gets you access to Nightmare Pain. All in all, it's one of the best cards in the deck. It's obviously going to be super targeted by the likes of Ash, so just keep that in mind. Droll and Lockbird, because there are many decks these days that search, Raid Raptors being one of them, Fire Kings being another. If you droll them, that's going to really hurt their turn. They sometimes even have to end their turn. Yubel, on the other hand, can set cards directly onto your side of the field. So Nightmare Pain can be set, and then you can try and swing for game from there, because once you activate it, all damage gets reflected to your opponent. Grave Squirmer is great at 2. It's a monster that can special summon itself. It can banish itself from the graveyard to bring back one of your Yubel monsters or any monster that's in your hand, so it's really strong for extending. You can also search it out fairly easily. You don't really need to play it at 3. 1 for 1, gets access to Samsara, gets access to Squirmer. Peer Race Map. So before Throne, this was a card I used to play at 3. Nowadays, I've cut it to 1 as just sort of like an extra consistency tech. You could take this out yourself if you wanted to, but drawing it never hurts, because then you can bring Samsara straight into your hand. You can bring Beckoning Beast straight into your hand. 1 Terraforming, you can't search Nightmare Throne, unfortunately, so 1 Terraforming basically means we have 4 copies of it. 3 Super Poly, goes without saying, just board wipe, summon Loving Defender forever, burn for lots of damage, attack for lots of damage. 3 Nightmare Pain is very essential. Without Nightmare Pain, you're kind of crippling your entire deck. So outside of Samsara, Nightmare Pain is going to be one of those cards your opponent's going to want to get off the field as quick as possible. Opening of the Spirit Gates is such a good card. So Dark Beckoning Beast lets us get access to it, but Beast by itself isn't very good. Spirit Gates allows you to revive, for example, Samsara. You can revive Spirit of Yubel to get extra effects. You can also bring back continuous spell cards. So if they pop Nightmare Pain, you can bring it back to your hand. If you discard Nightmare Pain, you can bring it back to your hand. So this allows you to at least break even or even plus with your cards. Before Light of Destruction, Mature Chronicle is not very good. It's a very slow, clunky card, and you're often searching it towards the end of your combo. But Mature Chronicle, once the field spell comes out, is much better because it just triggers more often than not. You're going to be floating, giving yourself lots and lots of tokens, which allows you to use the first effect pretty often. You can special summon a Yubel from the graveyard, then that makes Eternal Favorite live immediately. Also, going up to 5 tokens lets you bring Super Polymerization to your hand. Even just having it on the field creates that panic situation where your opponent thinks, if I don't get rid of this, you're going to search for Super Polymerization and I'm probably going to lose. So just having it there as a pick me, choose me, love me card is great. Nightmare Throne is one of the best consistency cards this deck could have possibly asked for. You can bring any fiend with 0 attack and defense from your deck, and you can either add it to your hand or destroy it. So this means you can add Spirit of Yubel, you can add Samsara, you can destroy a Squirmer to banish it immediately. And then also, if one of your face-up Yubel monsters leaves the field by a card effect, you can float into another Yubel monster that's 1 level high or lower. So you basically bring it from your deck, graveyard, or banishment into your hand, and then you can choose to special summon it by ignoring summoning conditions. Then of course 3 Infinite Impermanence, I quite like it because you can activate it straight from the hand. So if you're going second, at least that gives you an interrupt. And then I play 2 Eternal Favorite instead of 1, because if they out the one of them, being able to go into another one is actually pretty strong. They usually don't expect it. And also, if you happen to have both on your side of the field, you get both of the effects, so it's a win-win. Our whole fusion lineup is just super poly fodder, really. So obviously, Yubel Loving Defender forever. Dragos Topelier is a negate. You can easily sub that out for Starving Venom, but it's pretty cheap these days anyway. Garura is obviously pretty good. It's a super poly target for almost anything in the game. Mud Dragon of the Swamp, again, is one of those super poly targets that's very generic, very strong. But I would recommend just pick the super poly targets that work best, that are going to be most useful to you depending on what your locals is like or whatever. Zeus, so we just have 1 panic button, and that's Assembled Nightingale. Attack, go into Zeus. Panic, blow up everything. Relinquished Anima is summon, go into it, steal their monster. Unchained Soul of Rage, of course, I mentioned it before. 3 interrupts in 1, tributes a monster. SP Little Knight banishes something and then banishes the second card. Almirage is pretty much needed. So if you have Beckoning Beast and Spirit Gates and not really much else, at least you can link into Almirage, use Spirit Gates to bring Beckoning Beast back, and then go into Yama or something from there. I recommend you put the Unchained cards into your deck. And all I mean is Unchained Soul Shavara and 1 Escape of the Unchained. Nightmare Unicorn also works. So that about wraps it up, everyone. If you haven't seen the only Yubel deck guide you will ever need, I recommend you check that out as well, because it goes hand in hand with this video, and it especially goes over some of the combos that you might want to use before the field spell comes out. So if you like this video, my name's Adam, and if you didn't, it's Steve, and until next time everyone, I'll see you around.